two astronauts originally assigned to a routine 8-day mission aboard the International Space Station, ISS, now face the possibility of being stranded in orbit until early next year. This unforeseen delay is the result of mounting safety concerns surrounding Boeing's CST-100 Starliner spacecraft. As the situation unfolds, speculation has intensified around whether Elon Musk might release statements or data that could further complicate matters for Boeing, a company already grappling with a series of reputational setbacks in both its aerospace and commercial sectors. NASA recently made the decision to postpone the astronauts' return to Earth, citing unresolved technical and safety issues with Starliner. In response, the agency is actively considering the use of SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft as a contingency plan to bring the astronauts home safely. This potential reliance on SpaceX reflects a widening gulf between Boeing's troubled Starliner program and SpaceX's proven track record in human spaceflight, underscoring a shift in industry dynamics. The latest complications are part of a broader pattern that has plagued Boeing's Starliner program since its inception. In contrast to SpaceX's rapid ascent as the dominant force in U.S. commercial spaceflight, Boeing has suffered repeated delays, technical failures, and a steady erosion of confidence from both NASA and the public. Elon Musk's pointed remark in August 2024, stating that aircraft manufacturers won't control the future of space, just as car makers don't rule the skies, was widely interpreted as a direct critique of Boeing. This came just after NASA opted not to use Starliner for a critical June 2024 docking attempt due to persistent issues. What should have been a routine mission teetered on the brink of crisis as NASA feared the astronauts might not have a reliable means to return without assistance from SpaceX. Musk himself highlighted that if SpaceX hadn't been an option, NASA might have been forced to fall back on Russia's space program, an outcome that would have symbolized a major regression in the pursuit of American spaceflight independence. The Starliner program has endured a troubled development cycle spanning more than a decade. In 2014, NASA awarded contracts to both Boeing and SpaceX to develop spacecraft capable of transporting astronauts to the ISS, reducing the U.S.'s reliance on Russian Soyuz missions. Boeing received $4.2 billion in funding, significantly more than the $2.6 billion allocated to SpaceX's Crew Dragon. However, despite this financial edge, Boeing has yet to complete a fully successful crewed mission, while SpaceX has delivered 7 successful human flights since 2020. This disparity has not gone unnoticed, especially as Boeing's program continues to suffer delays and setbacks that raise serious questions about its long-term viability. Starliner was envisioned as a next-generation transport vehicle capable of flying up to 7 passengers to and from the ISS. NASA planned to use it for missions carrying 4 astronauts, leveraging the spacecraft's capacity to remain docked at the ISS for up to 7 months. The design featured a reusable crew capsule and a disposable service module. Despite these ambitious goals, the spacecraft has been consistently hindered by technical issues, from software bugs and faulty parachutes to corroded valves and helium leaks. Its timeline for readiness, originally set for 2017, has been repeatedly pushed back. One of the earliest and most public failures occurred during a December 2019 test flight after launching aboard an Atlas V rocket. The Starliner experienced a critical malfunction just 15 minutes into the mission. A timing error in the onboard computer caused the spacecraft to misinterpret its position in the mission sequence, triggering a series of incorrect maneuvers and prematurely burning fuel. The error compromised the mission, and a subsequent NASA-Boeing investigation uncovered no fewer than 80 corrective actions needed before the spacecraft could fly again. While Boeing worked to resolve these issues, SpaceX surged ahead, completing successful crewed tests and solidifying its role as NASA's go-to human spaceflight partner. Further problems surfaced in 2021 when corrosion was found in more than 1,000 valves in Starliner's propulsion system, delaying progress yet again. A 2022 uncrewed test flight appeared to be a turning point, with the spacecraft successfully docking at the ISS. This led NASA to schedule its first crewed Starliner mission with astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams, both seasoned space veterans. Wilmore, a former Navy combat pilot, had already flown aboard the space shuttle and spent 6 months on the ISS. Williams, a pioneer in her own right, had flown 2 missions and was the first woman to test a new spacecraft. Their experience and professionalism made them ideal candidates to validate Boeing's long-delayed crewed capability. Yet, even this mission encountered trouble. In 2023, Boeing identified problems with Starliner's parachute system and had to conduct additional drop tests. Engineers also found that nearly a mile of flammable tape used inside the spacecraft had to be removed and replaced. By early 2024, it appeared that Boeing had finally resolved the major engineering obstacles and anticipation built for the crewed launch. However, a planned May 2024 flight was delayed due to a faulty oxygen relief valve. Another attempt in June was canceled after a thruster leak was discovered. It wasn't until June 5, 2024, that Starliner finally launched with Wilmore and Williams aboard, successfully reaching the ISS. But the mission was far from smooth. Multiple helium leaks were discovered after launch, and a last-minute thruster failure nearly prevented the spacecraft from docking with the station. Though the mission ultimately achieved docking, lingering safety concerns prompted NASA to keep the astronauts aboard the ISS longer than planned while conducting further evaluations. When Boeing could not guarantee a safe return using Starliner, NASA decided to consider SpaceX's Crew Dragon to bring the astronauts home, effectively extending the mission into early 2025. This development marked a significant setback for Boeing. For a company with such deep roots in the American aerospace tradition, having helped build the ISS and served as a lead contractor in the space shuttle era, the moment was a sobering reminder of how far it had fallen behind. This mission was supposed to be Boeing's redemption, a proof-of-concept flight to restore public and institutional confidence. Instead, it has drawn attention back to the company's broader struggles, not least the ongoing safety concerns surrounding its 737 MAX aircraft. In this context, Starliner's continued setbacks carry even greater weight. Each new issue, from software faults to mechanical failures, further diminishes Boeing's credibility in an industry increasingly shaped by agile, innovative companies like SpaceX. The growing dependence on SpaceX is itself a double-edged sword. While SpaceX has consistently delivered safe and effective transport to low Earth orbit, it also now occupies a dominant and potentially monopolistic position in the sector. Relying heavily on one commercial provider, even one as capable as SpaceX, introduces risks related to cost, oversight, and technological diversity. NASA must now grapple with this new reality. SpaceX's Crew Dragon has not only completed multiple flawless missions, but also offers a scalable, reusable model for future human spaceflight, including potential missions to the Moon and Mars. Meanwhile, SpaceX is moving ahead with development of Starship, a next-generation launch system designed for deep space exploration. Boeing, on the other hand, remains mired in troubleshooting and repairs, with its Starliner program falling dangerously behind. If Boeing cannot resolve its technical challenges and deliver consistent safe performance, it risks being excluded from future NASA crewed missions and commercial contracts altogether. The outcome of this situation may ultimately redefine how public-private partnerships in space are approached. Once dominated by legacy giants like Boeing and Lockheed Martin, the industry is increasingly led by private tech innovators with bold visions and the capability to execute them. For Boeing, the stakes could not be higher. The future of the Starliner, and perhaps its role in American space exploration, hangs in the balance. For the astronauts aboard the ISS, their fate is now tied not to the spacecraft that brought them up, but to a competitor's vehicle that may bring them safely back down, a powerful symbol of a shifting era in spaceflight. The broader implications of Boeing's Starliner challenges stretch far beyond a single mission or even the company itself. They reflect a profound transformation in the space industry, one that is rapidly shifting from traditional government contracts and long-standing aerospace giants to more agile, innovation-driven private entities. For decades, Boeing was the gold standard of American aerospace excellence. Its deep legacy included pivotal roles in the Saturn V rockets, the Space Shuttle program, and integral modules of the International Space Station. Yet in recent years, this legacy has become overshadowed by an alarming pattern of setbacks, mismanagement, and technical failure. The troubles with the Starliner program symbolize not just engineering difficulties, but a deeper crisis of adaptability and competitiveness in a sector that now demands speed, precision, and flawless execution. While NASA initially maintained its commitment to a dual-provider approach to human spaceflight, with Boeing and SpaceX both developing independent transport vehicles, The performance gap between the two companies has become increasingly difficult to ignore. SpaceX, led by Elon Musk, has not only met its milestones ahead of schedule, but has consistently raised the bar for performance, reusability, and cost efficiency. The Crew Dragon spacecraft has carried astronauts to and from the ISS multiple times since its first crewed flight in 2020, each mission solidifying public and institutional trust. In stark contrast, Boeing Starliner, despite significantly more initial funding, has yet to complete a fully successful, incident-free crewed mission. This growing divide is leading some within the aerospace community to question whether the dual-provider model is still feasible, or whether SpaceX should now be treated as NASA's primary and perhaps sole human transport partner for the near future. The symbolism of two astronauts depending on their competitor's spacecraft for a safe return is striking. Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore were meant to be the face of Boeing's resurgence in space. Instead, they have become the latest participants in a drama that has cast doubt on the company's future in crewed spaceflight. Their extended stay aboard the ISS, while not without scientific benefit, is a direct result of Boeing's failure to inspire confidence in its spacecraft's safety. This shift toward reliance on SpaceX not only reveals Boeing's vulnerability, but also reinforces the idea that legacy institutions may be ill-equipped to handle the pace and complexity of today's space environment. NASA, for its part, finds itself in a delicate position. While the agency remains publicly supportive of Boeing and its efforts to resolve technical issues, the realities of space travel demand operational reliability above all else. Every delay and every malfunction places astronaut lives at risk. And as the space program evolves toward longer, more ambitious missions to the Moon and Mars, those risks become exponentially more significant. The Artemis program, NASA's next major venture aimed at returning humans to the Moon, relies heavily on partnerships with commercial space firms. SpaceX's Starship has already been selected as the Human Landing System, HLS, for upcoming Artemis missions. Boeing, meanwhile, was largely left out of that process, a decision that many analysts view as a reflection of the agency's shifting trust and strategic priorities. Compounding Boeing's troubles is a broader erosion of public confidence. In the aftermath of multiple high-profile failures, not just in space, but also in its commercial aviation division, Boeing's brand has taken substantial hits. The deadly crashes involving the 737 MAX aircraft and the subsequent grounding of the entire fleet for nearly 2 years still loom large in the public imagination. These incidents brought intense scrutiny to Boeing's internal processes, corporate culture, and regulatory relationships. In this light, Starliner's technical issues feel less like isolated engineering hiccups and more like symptoms of a company struggling to regain its footing across all fronts. Critics argue that Boeing has grown complacent, relying too heavily on past prestige rather than evolving to meet new challenges. Meanwhile, SpaceX continues to drive innovation at a remarkable pace. The company is not only launching astronauts regularly but is also developing entirely new systems like the fully reusable Starship for deep space exploration. Its success with Crew Dragon has already reshaped expectations for crew safety, mission frequency, and cost efficiency. Each Starliner failure only magnifies SpaceX's accomplishments, positioning the company not just as a contractor, but as the new face of American spaceflight leadership.